Well, let me tell you something, brother. Markomania's running wild. And what you gonna do when the man with the 24-inch brain runs wild on you? All right, wrestling fans, this is your Ring of Honor report for 12/24/11. I am the man with the 24-inch brain, Smart Mark. And this was basically a pre-tape best of 2011 Christmas special. And basically, the rundown of the matches, they showed El Generico defending the TV title against Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal wins the title with the lethal injection in sudden death overtime. High point of this, Cornette coming out and announcing the sudden death, and the crowd just started going nuts. A match that you would pretty much expect from Generico and Lethal. Two guys that, you know, got a lot of good spots between the two of them. So, good match. And in the middle, when it went to commercial break, we got the promo for March pay-per-view. Fort Lauderdale is hosting the Showdown in the Sun. And I guess the way this is going to work is Friday night, they'll do the first half of the pay-per-view, and Saturday afternoon they'll do the second. I want to hear more about this before I weigh in too much. They did say you get both events for $20, which, I mean, being a hardcore wrestling fan, I have to say I already am like $20 for two pay-per-views, or at least to say a 2-day pay-per-view. But, you know, based off of the Final Battle pay-per-view they just had, I don't know. I'm on the fence of whether I buy it or not, because that was just not a very good pay-per-view. A lot of other people have weighed in. You know, overall, I gave it a C-. I didn't want to do a review on it because I didn't get to watch it till like 3 days later. But, I mean, I actually spent the $15 to watch it and sat there for 4 hours and enjoyed most of the show. I think a lot of people rag on it. Obviously, there were technical difficulties. I'm a fairly new fan of Ring of Honor. It's kind of been on my peripherals for, you know, the last several years. I finally signed up on the website, and now I'm watching the show every week. So I was actually really excited about Final Battle and wanted to see these matches. So, yeah, it was a long pay-per-view. The pacing of it wasn't the best, so, you know, if they would have had some more backstage interviews and maybe some packages about the matches, it would have been a lot better. But I'm not going to rag on it that much because I enjoyed most of the matches. Which from what I gather, I might be in the minority on. But coming back to the show, we get inside the ROH segment, and they did a package on Die Hard Eddie Edwards where he talked about his broken elbow. It was actually a pretty good story that, you know, again, this is something I didn't see when it initially aired. So some of this, it's like when I saw that there was that this was going to be a best of show and they didn't even have like the update from what happened at Final Battle. You know, I was like, really? You know, it just, if you're coming off a big pay-per-view, especially, you know, assuming that Ring of Honor is getting new viewers with this new show and, you know, from what I gathered, this was the most watched pay-per-view they've ever had. So you'd think they'd want to come behind that with, something new and fresh to keep people's interest. So I feel bad for the more casual fan, although if you're watching Ring of Honor, chances are you are not a casual fan. So for somebody like me that doesn't have a lot of the backstory going back past November, and at that mid to late November, I was glad to see some of this. So that diehard Eddie Edwards story when he wrestled with his broken elbow was actually pretty good and made me respect him more. Then we get a wrestling's greatest tag team promo, kind of showing a lot more of their feud with the Briscoes, and I don't know, kind of based off of this and just another promo that Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team had later in the show for the Fort Lauderdale event. It's kind of not that hard for me to see why they got booed at the pay-per-view, because they just, and I think you need this to have the diversity of the way they come across and the style they wrestle, but hopefully behind Final Battle they just turn them heel, because I think that's the way they're perceived anyway. And this promo, they list through all of their accomplishments they've had, and it was effective because they run through all these credentials basically, and then they're cap it off by saying, and now I'm the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion. And so I thought that was effective, but at the same time, I think a lot of people are going to take it as them just being braggadocious. So, turn them heel for sure behind this pay-per-view, especially when, obviously, to me, they worked the match as heels, which did make it confusing, because that's not, it's not the way it was promoted, really. But at the same time, I respected the fact that they were getting booed. They were obviously the heels to the crowd, and instead of fighting against that and sticking to a script, a la John Cena, and WWE in general, they could see that the crowd wanted to boo them, so they worked the match as heels, basically. So I actually kind of respected that about them, but, again, it does add some confusion to what's going on. But for the people that are paying the money to actually be at the event, I think they're more important than anybody else. So that's just my opinion on that. Yeah, I paid $15 to watch the pay-per-view at home, but do I think that the fans that are in attendance in the crowd at the event are more important than the at-home audience? Absolutely, in any event. Then there, throughout this show, we had the Ring of Honor commercials, for basically, for their website and their, shop for their merchandise. And I want to say, the company or whoever is putting their commercials together, they have so much more of a slick and commercial feel to them, and by commercial there, I'm just meaning good. And it's if they could have that kind of quality of commercials, you would think their actual show quality, and I'm just talking about production here, pure production value, that their replays would be a lot. During the pay-per-view, I don't think they showed a single replay. They tried to once and fucked it up. But the commercials look good. Then they showed a match between World's Greatest Tag Team and Kings of Wrestling. Again, I was kind of glad to see this because I was not aware of Kings of Wrestling all that much. Did not get to see them wrestle. It's Claudio Castronelli and Chris Hero. Claudio is now Antonio Cesaro on FCW. Obviously, we saw Chris Hero return in a singles match at the pay-per-view, so kind of neat to see the tag team of those two for me. Anyway, the Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team defending the title, and they retain. Solid match. Then they showed them boys, the Briscoe brothers, against the All Night Express in a number one contenders match, with the winner getting the match at Final Battle. So obviously we knew the Briscoes were going to win this, and it really, again, like seeing this match, just made me more excited about All Night Express, and knowing they have a title match coming up soon, or at least, they've won to have a title shot, but they haven't really said when they're going to get it. But I actually hope, because when they get their title shot, I want them to win. So I hope that the Briscoes and Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team kind of mix it up at least another time or two, and then maybe All Night's getting thrown in a three-way match or something, and that being where they win the titles. Because you figure the Briscoes are going to hold the titles for a minute. So if they come right out the gate with the match against the All Nights, they're not going to win. And I do feel like overall they need to be like the number one contenders and eventually win the titles in a decent program, which from just based off of this match, these two teams are totally ready to have a decent program. The show ended with the announcement that next week's episode will be a special New Year's edition, promising more of the best action from the year. So, still nothing new, and I think overall maybe I don't think most people want to see best of the year episodes. I think they want new shit that they haven't seen. So, although to me this is going to probably still mostly be new shit I haven't seen, I doubt it's going to really propel the interest for anybody else that already knows all these matches. So, right now, as it stands behind Final Battle, and now knowing this was the first of two best of editions, I'm going to say Ring of Honor is scoring about a D in my book. At best, a C-, and I look forward to seeing the new Florida Championship Wrestling, honestly, and I'll tell you, I would be shocked if theirs was a best-of episode, but again, that's not really, the only thing that turns me. It's just the timing with them having the pay-per-view right at the end of the year like that. They need to be trying to lock in people's interest behind it. Let me know what you guys think. If you haven't already subscribed, please do. I like to know who's watching. Please comment, talk to each other, talk to me. Anybody that does knows that I do answer and respond if you comment. So, overall opinions on Ring of Honor right now, post pay-per-view or including the pay-per-view, and hopefully we'll be able to find the FCW show from this week, and I'll get that reviewed. Tonight will be TNA or Impact Wrestling, if you will, so that will be reviewed. Probably get that uploaded tomorrow morning. Thank you for listening, and thanks for all the great comments behind the Q&A, and got a couple questions coming in for the next one, so hopefully I can start doing these Q&As like once a week or so, maybe once every 2 weeks, however long it takes to get at least a 10-minute show put together. So thanks for listening. We will see you next time.